I may live 1,459 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what I lack in proximity, I make up for in film study, and each and every week, I'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane, I guess we call it today. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I am not joined by my illustrious colleague, Johnny Page. Our schedules just did not mesh for recording this week. And so I'm going to do a solo show, and honestly, Johnny may have to pay me back next week because I'm not sure if I'm going to be around next week. And so holiday travel and all that stuff. But I just stumbled in from work, laid like 18 pallets of sod today, and I have a quick 45 minutes or so to record this before I go to a church Thanksgiving dinner. So I'm recording it instead of airing it live because we've got people streaming in Riverside right now. And so I'm recording this in Streamlabs. I will run it through Riverside later to clean up the audio. So apologies to those of you that enjoy watching live. Sorry, that just didn't work out this week, but we're doing the best we can and wanted to make sure we get you guys something. And so I'm going to dive into the Eagles' victory over the Lions. I'm going to get into the All-22. The plan is not to be super negative. Honestly, I'm just kind of tired of it. I want to try to talk about some different things. And so I'm going to focus on some solutions, some things the Eagles did well offensively. And of course, it's not hard to be positive about the defense. So I am going to start with the offense. So we do end on the most positive note. And because Johnny's not here and I can do what I want, I'm going to give you 4 points on offense. So Johnny wouldn't let me talk about offense last week. No, that's not necessarily true. He actually made me talk about it more than I wanted to, but I'm going to give you 4 points. There were 4 things I really wanted to talk about. And so let's go ahead and dive in here. And hopefully this layout works well for everybody. You should be able to see everything. The first thing I want to talk about is how the Eagles are utilizing play action. And so I tweeted out after the Packers game that the Eagles ran jumbo personnel. So I'm calling jumbo when you have a 6th offensive lineman. So like 11 jumbo would be 6 offensive line, 1 running back, 1 tight end. And so you'd only have 2 receivers. So that's how I've always designated it. So just generically jumbo, not breaking down into 11 jumbo, 12 jumbo, whatever. But with a 6th offensive lineman on the field against the Packers, it was either 11 or 12 plays that the Eagles ran from jumbo, and every single one of them was a run play. And so you start to become really predictable with that. It's something I pointed out on our show, or in my pass game review last week, I think. Maybe I didn't because they never threw a pass, but I definitely pointed it out on Twitter. And so the Eagles come out in this game, and their first play of the game, this is, first play of the game, you've got 6 offensive linemen on the field. And so what the Lions are thinking is, this is obviously a run play, right? Run distance, 1st and 10, run formation, jumbo personnel. And so what you're going to see is at the snap of the ball, these linebackers fly downhill. Like, I'm going to talk about how the Eagles bite on play action when we get to the defensive part. Just what all 3 of these guys are going to get like 4 to 5 yards upfield. Look at that. So you displaced, just by virtue of breaking a tendency, you took 3 linebackers that were here and you moved them here, right? So you have opened up this window to throw the football into, versus if it wasn't play action and they start to gain depth, we're trying to throw into this window, right? Obviously that yellow window is a lot easier to throw into, and we can have whatever discussions you guys want to about whether Jalen Hurts likes to throw over the middle of the field. But this is making it easier, right? I'm just realizing that the corners of my screen are getting clipped off, and I think it's going to impact whether you can see the receivers. So let me try to adjust that really quickly, if it'll cooperate here. This is great podcasting, right? Trying to adjust things on the fly. There we go. That's a little better. Interesting that it's giving me a bit of a different resolution here. We'll just stretch it out a little bit and we'll call that good. Okay, so back to the play. So you're going to create this big void, right? You're going to have a 20-yard void over the middle of the field, which when you run play action, that's where you're trying to attack, right? We're trying to manipulate guys that are in run fits. It's really hard to manipulate this safety with play action because he's not in a run fit. It's hard to manipulate this cornerback because he's not in a run fit. So he's not keying on that at all. And so we talked about how the linebackers are going to get sucked up. There's going to be a huge void. Here's the problem. The Eagles are going to run a curl route, and they're going to run a corner route. And again, these cornerbacks aren't affected by play action because they're not in run fits. And so you watch this play out, and you think, man, what if we ran something over the middle of the field here? But we just didn't. And so you're left trying to throw, like, this worked. The intent of play action worked. We sucked up the linebackers. But this is what we're trying to throw. Like, that's a tremendously difficult throw to make. And, Hurts is going to put this on the money. Boom, that hits you in the hands. That should be a catch. Smitty drops it. It's an unfortunate start to the game, but it's one of those things where you almost get the feeling the Eagles are like, hey, play action is good, but we're not using it to attack the defenders we're manipulating. We're not conflicting people. And so we can watch from the back view here, not that it really changes anything, but you can sort of see, those linebackers come flying up. Hurts hits the top of his drop, ball's out, ball's on the money, ball's dropped. All right. Okay. So that's one example of play action. So let's go to another example of play action. This time, the Eagles are going to run their play action. I believe this is jumbo again, because I think this is an extra offensive lineman right here. So I think you're jumbo again, and you've got your tight end sort of in this gap. And what the Eagles are going to do is they're going to run a post with a drive concept. So we've got the play action post, and then we're going to have sort of a drive concept like this. And so here's the thing. Let's run this, and we'll show you what happens here. So you want to throw this post, like ideally. But the problem is they spin into a single high safety, and there's no other vertical route to really conflict this safety. And so he just gets over the top of this post. And so if you want to try to throw the post, like hypothetically, a dig route could do that. It's a Yankee concept. We're going to get to that one in a minute. So hypothetically, you could do that. The problem becomes in, look how slow Goddard is to get off the line. And so by now, like, this safety has already had a chance to close. I mean, you could throw this to A.J. Brown, and that's probably what I would rather Jalen do here. But it just doesn't work. And we can see from the back, the Eagles are trying to be a bit tricky here. Yeah, this is jumbo. That's an extra lineman. So they line him up in the C gap. And at the snap of the ball, they're going to release him through the B gap, right? So this is called an insert play. And I'm going to show you an example of the Lions doing this to get a big play. The Rams do this a lot. It's a good way to scheme things. But the problem is you're trying to run through traffic to get free, but the guy that's responsible for Goddard is way away from the traffic. It's going to be this safety up here. It's this guy. This is who's going to end up being responsible for Goddard. So he's not caught up in any traffic. And then look at this dig route. Like, it just, look at this little jab outside there. You're not threatening that guy. You've already started to angle inside. He knows where you're running. This is a really bad route by Goddard. Does anybody think he's not running this way? Like, if you pushed upfield and snapped this off, or if you just get across the field here, you could be open, right? And so I like the idea, but honestly, what I would rather have happen is have A.J. Brown, like, switch A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. Like, maybe you attach Dallas Goedert to the line here, and you motion A.J. Brown, and you release him through the B gap to run a crosser. And you just have Dallas Goedert run your drag or something like that. You need it to be a fast guy. Like, this cornerback is probably going to be responsible for A.J., and so if you motion him in, he's got to fight through traffic. We're not creating traffic here, right? We're not creating traffic. We're not creating conflict for that safety, and so this play-action play falls flat too. We tried an insert thing. We just didn't use it effectively. And so then we get to the last one, and we'll talk about the blocking from the backside, but the Eagles are going to run Yankee, which is a post with a dig route. That's deeper than the dig actually is, and all you're doing off of this is reading this safety. If he gets back with the post, we can probably throw the dig. If he comes down on the dig, we throw over the top. And so forget the protection. Just watch how this plays out. A.J. Brown attacks the outside shoulder, snaps this off. The safety is getting over the top, right? So we move the linebackers. We can throw this into this window, right? This is what we should be using play action to do. We're targeting this portion of the field, right? You can watch the linebackers, watch where they start. They come up. It's not as bad as the first play, but they still come up 3 yards. There's the window. Boom, ball's out. We get an explosive play. Except at the top of our drop, we're just getting massacred. And we're getting massacred when we go to the backside for a few reasons. One is that we ask Kylan Granson to block Aiden Hutchinson and then release him and get to the flat so a Grant Calcaterra can come across and pick him up. That could make sense if we're like bootlegging away, but we're trying to take a straight drop, right? And so we absolutely can't leave this tight end here, or this tight end on an all-pro level player here. But we do it, and then we're like trying to get everyone to come across and kick outside. All right, so if you watch this play out, we get the snap of the ball. See how everybody's trying to slant? We've got Cam Jurgens passing this guy off to Tyler Steen. Fred Johnson's also passing a guy off to Tyler Steen. And it's just a disaster, and Hurts has nowhere to go once he hits his drop. And so we should be blocking this up better. I don't know. Get Fred Johnson out here and give him chip help. Let's just block this. And maybe you could try to leave him on an island because you're going to boot this way into your double team or something if you need to create space. And Cam Jurgens is sort of free to read both of them. There's different ways you could do it. Bottom line is it's poorly designed pass protection. It's poorly executed. And this time the play action generates the window and you have a route there, but you just can't throw it. And so the Eagles use play action. They didn't use it well. And you just have to know what play action is designed to do. And in the first one, we don't attack the guys we're manipulating. In the second one, we don't manipulate the defender we want to throw at. And then in the third one, we do those things, but the blocking just makes it not work before we even start. So that's how the Eagles use play action and some things they could do to fix it. Now let's talk about empty. You guys know how much I love empty. It's a cheat code. It forces you to basically play off coverage to get light boxes. Here you're going to get a curl route at the bottom of the screen against off coverage. Curl routes against off coverage are good. Ball's out, even though A.J. Brown falls down, and tremendous catch after falling down, right? That's an easy play, assuming you don't slip and fall. And I'm going to speed through these because you guys have heard me sing the praises of empty for a long time. But this time, look at this box count, right? We have 4 linemen. So we've got 4 linemen, and then we've got guys that are paired up, right? This is essentially a 4-man box with 2 high safeties. And so you just run into it, right? And Hurts gets a conversion on a 3rd and 11. And that's just easy money. Like, if you're willing to run your quarterback like this out of empty, it forces teams to play coverage that is very easy for you to throw against. And so I think the Eagles went up to running empty 8 times in this game, I think, and I think they should even continue to increase that number. Here you're going to get a speed out to the bottom of the screen to Jahan Dotson. I think that was that no, that was A.J. Brown. He gets Jahan Dotson later on one of those. It's an easy free release throw, right? There's no, you're putting tremendous stress on the defense just by spreading it out. Here, we're going to get a one-on-one shot to A.J. Brown deep. Like, that's the dream. The safety isn't helping on A.J. Brown. Like, we will take this look and throw it any day of the week, especially 3rd and 15, right? The problem here is A.J. pulls up and doesn't finish the route, and I'm not going to get into that. I vented about it on Twitter. But that's the look that you want to get. You want to get A.J. Brown running one-on-one. You want to get Devontae Smith running one-on-one. You want to get Jalen Hurts running. It just causes so much stress for the defense. When you can attack downfield, you can hit speed outs, you can run. Here's going to be another run, a 3rd and 6 conversion. right? And you can see this time they have only one high safety, so it's a 5-man box. But still, you got 5 blockers. And even though Juergens misses his guy, you still get the first down. We can see from the back view, I just don't think Juergens is moving right? He just gets jumped around. Hurts makes the guy miss, but running is a cheat code. You're going to get, this is the double move. It's the very next play to Saquon. You get Saquon on a linebacker. Hurts takes his drop looking at the safety. That's a touchdown with a better throw. And Hurts can hit those, and I think the wind probably plays a lot into that. I think also Hurts is on the move here because Jordan Mailata doesn't anchor against Aiden Hutchinson, so watch, he's not going to straight drop on the hash. He's running, throwing off of 1 foot with a little hop. So that's also not good for it. But if you look at the Eagles, what they did out of empty in this game, I tweeted the stats, but I think it was 8 plays that they ran out of empty. I should have had this pulled up. I meant to pull this up. It's been a long day, but I think it was 8 plays that they ran out of empty, and they had 2 runs on 3rd down that generated first downs. They threw a slant to A.J. Brown that was a completion. So let me start over. 2 run plays that were first downs, both converted 3rd downs, 11 and 12-yard runs. They had 6 pass plays and went 2 of 6 for 21 yards. Okay? So you had the speed out, you had the curl. However, of the 4 incompletes, 1 was a slant route that hit A.J. Brown in the hands. Should have been caught. 1 was a slot fade to Dallas Goedert, which isn't, I don't love that, but it gives you a chance. 1 was the one-on-one deep ball to Brown, and then the double move to Saquon. And so you expect A.J. to catch that slant. You expect Jalen to hit that double move to Saquon. If you hit those plays that are pretty routine for Jalen most of the time, you're 4 of 6, and you got a deep ball to A.J. Brown in there that he may or may not catch, too, for a big play. I think it's a good step to get to 8 snaps and empty. I want to continue building that out. So I love the Eagles and empty. I think it's something they should go to more, as you guys well know. And so let's get into curl routes. I want to talk about the good and the bad of curl routes. So the Eagles are running a tremendous amount of curl routes. First, let's start there. Eagles Eric put this out, talking about the hitch route rate and the total number of routes people run. So you can see at the top left, the Eagles far and away run the highest percentage of hitch routes in the NFL right now. And there can be good things about hitch routes, and we'll get into those, but there can be bad things too. And Dennis Selman followed that up and said the highest rate of hitch routes run by all NFL players with 200-plus routes run this year. So there's 109 players that qualify. Dallas Goedert is first, Jahan Dotson is second, Devontae Smith is fifth, and A.J. Brown is 18th. So the Eagles have number 1, number 2, number 5, and number 18 in hitch route rate. And so it's becoming very, very predictable that it's what they do. And by the way, number 3 and number 4 are Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz. And most of their hitch routes, honestly, are probably stick routes, which are more option route type things. And so I don't even think those truly qualify as hitch routes. So the Eagles, you could argue, probably have the top 3 hitch route runners in the NFL right now. And so they can work. And here's an example of it working. You've seen this play. I already showed it to you, but it's the empty. When you get a guy giving you space, giving you cushion, like A.J. Brown's getting at the bottom of the screen here, you can run these hitch routes, these curl routes, because they're having to turn their hips and run, and all of a sudden you stop, and the ball's on you. And if you don't fall down, that's an easy catch, right? And so you can do that, and that's a good play. Here's where it's a bad play. Hitch routes are really not good against press coverage. And the reason it's not good against press coverage is because the cornerback is going to be engaged with you. And so he's not giving ground to turn and run. And then when he sees you move, he's got to plant himself and then drive downfield to cover the gap, right? If we go back to this first one, even if this guy instantly sees and processes that Brown's throttling down, which there's a delay in being able to process that and do it. But even if he instantly processes that, he's 5 yards away. So he has to process it instantly and then make up 5 yards of ground. right? When we're doing it against press coverage, look at the top of the screen here. We're engaged when Devontae Smith tries to stop, and because we're engaged, you get that that tactile feedback. I'm engaged with you, and I feel you stop quicker than I can see you stop. So I'm processing it quicker, and I'm right there with you, right? I can grab onto you and sort of hand fight to pull myself towards you, and I don't have to cover 5 yards, and so it results in a tremendously difficult tight window throw. And it's just a bad time to use them, and the Eagles are using them a lot. They're also just their stock play on third down is curl routes to the sticks. We saw it so many times in this game. You get curl route. I think it's hard to tell what he's running. We get kind of this is more of a sit route, but same idea, curl route. And then this is my favorite part. This is 12 personnel. This is Kylan Granson. Kylan Granson is aligned a good 3 yards off the line of scrimmage when he only has to be 1 yard off because he's not used to lining up out wide. And they're going to run a double move to him, to our tight end 3. And so you've got curl routes to the sticks. It's not open because we're sitting on that. And Kylan Granson running a double move. That's the 3rd and 5 plan. It's just not a good plan. The Eagles are overly reliant on these. And then you get to the end of the game, and you'll be able to see this curl route a little better because it's at the bottom of the screen, but it's A.J. Brown, press coverage. He's better than this cornerback. It's just not a winning route against this. And so you see this. He's just sitting on that inside hip pocket. He knows, right? And we're just right there. And honestly, that's a really bad flag. It bails the Eagles out, but I watched that play a lot of times, and I'm not throwing a flag there, but if you told me I had to, I would probably throw it on Brown for the push-off. And so the Eagles way overly reliant on hitches and curl routes. And it's not that they're not good. It's that they're situationally good, but the Eagles are running them in all situations. And I know people have put out online, I think Nate Tice talked about how it's up this year, but they've always been near the top of the league in hitch routes. And you can be when teams are playing you certain ways. And the Eagles have used them well in the past, but they're not using them well this year. And it feels like another one of those things, kind of like play action, where the coaching staff is like, hey, I know this is good, but I don't know why. And so, again, it's not radical shifts in the offense. It's just dialing these things in better situationally and making small adjustments, I think, that can make a big difference. And so my last point I want to talk about on offense is just miscellaneous other things that I liked that didn't really fit in anywhere. And so the first one is going jumbo and running a misdirection toss. So the Eagles have a new way they like to go jumbo. They were going 5-0 linemen, and then the 6th guy is out here, and Dallas Goedert would be off the line in here. That's something they did several times this game. This is the first time. If you look at this formation, you would assume the Eagles are running to the right. That's where the 6th lineman is. It's where the tight end is. It's where a condensed receiver is. And Jalen Hurts is going to turn like he's looking that way, right? Usually, the foot that steps back, if you're going to run to the right, the left foot would step back so you can toss while turning, right? And so you get Hurts stepping back with the left foot. You get the left guard pulling to the right. The linebackers watch him flow because of how Hurts is moving, because of how Dickerson's moving. Problem is Saquon's going the other way. And he's going to outrun that guy, right? Saquon can outrun an edge that's getting upfield, so we just leave him unblocked and get to the second level. It's a really cool design. Now you need something built off of that. You need a play action built off of that, some other things, because the Eagles came back to this later in the game, and the Lions were ready for it, and it went for a loss. And so you got to have different change-ups off of it. But I really liked that one. This is another play that I liked. I thought the route combinations were good. The Eagles are going to run double post. And a lot of times with double post, we're just reading the safety, but the assumption is he will go with the first post, so we're really trying to throw this other post over the top. So we get double post, and then we get a drive concept. And so, it's nice because if, for whatever reason, if the double post doesn't work, we can high-low linebackers. If it's man coverage, we've got a drag route running away. And I just want you to see, now this play doesn't work, but the Lions do a tremendous job passing this off. And so look at the conflict. Watch number 23 right here. He sees this coming, right? And he's pointing out right now to the safety. He's saying, hey, you take this guy and I'll pick up the post. And they communicate this phenomenally. That's just such good secondary play. Now, one thing I think you could do to make it a little better is maybe instead of running it out of 12 personnel, pretend that Kylan Granson's not here, right, and get Jahan Dotson out wider to run this dig route. And I think the reason that works is because he's going to be faster to get upfield, but also it's going to pull this cornerback out further. And so he's further away from the safety. It would make it harder to communicate that pass off. And like, just imagine if they don't pass this off, right? If they don't pass this off, then number 23 has to make a choice. Like, do I go with the post route and Hurts can throw this drive route, this dig route? Or do I keep running with the dig route and the post route's probably going to be open? So I liked this design. I would tweak the personnel and alignment just a little bit, but that one's nice. You had 4 routes that Hurts could conceivably progress to across the middle of the field. And so I liked seeing that, would like to see some more things like that, just have less linebackers on the field, or tight ends on the field. And then this one, the Lions have 6 guys up on the line. And so a lot of times teams are doing that to force you to block your running back so we don't have to account for him. And that's what the Lions are trying to do here. Except instead of blocking them all, they're just going to leave this end unblocked, and Saquon's going to flare out to the flat, and they just dump it to him. That's beautiful. It's a tendency breaker because the Eagles typically try to block that up, but if you can throw hot against it, it slows down the blitzes, right? You can't blitz so recklessly if you don't know. So like typically a team's going to try to block this up probably like this and have Saquon step to this linebacker. But the Eagles decide not to do that. They just full slide to the right and they leave this end unblocked and Saquon leaks out. I really liked that. I thought it was a nice little changeup, right? Just lob it over his head. You get a one-on-one out there. You don't make a guy miss, but it's a nice play to beat the blitz. So that was some of the stuff that I liked on the offense that didn't really fit in anywhere else. So let's flip over to the defense now. And let's talk about Quinyon Mitchell. And guys, Quinyon Mitchell is phenomenal. I'm probably prepared to stop hedging and saying that he is a top 3 cornerback and just say he might be the best cornerback in the NFL. What the Eagles are doing with Quinyon Mitchell, and I don't want to take away credit from Adoree Jackson, who has played better since the bye, but he's gotten a tremendously easier job because of what the Eagles are doing with Quinyon Mitchell. And so let's talk about what they're doing. First of all, they are almost always aligning Quinyon Mitchell on the short side of the field. The ball's on this hash, Quinyon's over here. If it's on the other hash, he's on the short side. Why do they do that? It's a shorter throw. And so for a quarterback to drive an out route from the left hash to the left side of the field versus from the left hash to the right side of the field, the ball's got to travel a lot further to the right, and so it gives you more time as a corner to break on it. And so the Eagles are putting him on the short side because it's the harder side to play. He has less time to respond. So the upshot to that is Adoree Jackson has more time. And so it basically gains him a half a step that he wouldn't otherwise have. But beyond that, they're also just pushing coverage away from Quinyon Mitchell a lot. And so this play, the Eagles are going to run cover 8. Cover 8 is quarter, half. Cover 6 means the quarters is on the passing strength. Cover 8 means the quarters is on the passing weakness. And so Quinyon Mitchell is on the weak side because we've got 1 receiver and a tight end, and the other side has 2 receivers and a running back. So Quinyon Mitchell is on the quarter side. What that means is he's going to play straight up man coverage, essentially, right? And I mean, I guess technically. So I said he's on the strong side. Different teams will do this different ways. So let me just quickly say that. Some teams will say this is the strong side because it has 3 receiving threats. I think a lot of teams will say this is the strong side because it has 2 wide receivers, and that trumps wide receiver, tight end, running back. So depends on how you're going to do it. Regardless, what they're going to do is the way this plays out, Quinyon's one-on-one with this guy, and Reed Blankenship is instantly cross-keying, looking for a crosser, And then Andrew Makuba is playing a half-field safety role. Him playing half-field safety means that Adoree Jackson can play a squat technique in the flat. He's not responsible for running with these routes. He can sit under curl routes, out routes, those sorts of things, because he's not required to carry things vertically. And so watch this play out. First of all, watch Adoree Jackson, and you can see how good the coverage is. Oh, this is the strong side because of the motion. I should have let the clip roll. But watch Jackson. He's able to open his hips, look at the quarterback, right? If this became an out route, he's right underneath it. You can't throw that. He's kind of splitting two guys. He's got help over the top. That's where Goff wants to go, and he can't go there, right? But why can you do this? Look at Quinyon Mitchell. Just lockdown defense. Running that dig route for a guy. That's a tremendously hard route to run. Now this time he's at the bottom of the screen because it's the short side of the field. This is going to be cover 3, but Quinyon's on the short side. And just look at him sit on this route, and it's just not there. And then this time it's going to be quarter, half, and Quinyon Mitchell, I think it's quarter, half, they quick snap, so it's hard to get a great look. Regardless, he's on the short side. Right, and it goes away from him. And look, you notice this time, Adoree Jackson doesn't have safety help, but it's this long throw from one set of hashes out to the other sideline, and it buys him that extra half a second. If this is a shorter throw, is he able to break this up? I don't think so. But that extra half second buys him time to make a good pass breakup play. And so it's helping Adoree Jackson. Here you're going to get Quinyon Mitchell at the top of the screen. He's got a dig route with no help. Just look at this. It's such good coverage. Then you're going to get a cover 1 blitz, and Reed Blankenship is responsible for the running back, and the running back stays into block, so Reed Blankenship is just supposed to look for work. And you're going to get a dig route, and usually you'd probably help on that route, but Reed just ignores it entirely and is going to come down and help on a shallow route because you just trust Quinyon Mitchell, and look at how well he plays that. He's just able to slingshot inside of this guy. Tremendous coverage reps by Quinyon. Now you get him at the top of the screen, short side of the field. This is going to be an out route. Just watch the way he plays this. There is nothing there whatsoever. And then this one's probably one of the most impressive ones. You're going to get, this is a switch release, right? And so switch release, these two receivers are going to kind of swap here. And the guy that's on top is now Quinyon's responsibility, and he's going to run the dig. So switch release is difficult. Defending a dig from outside leverage is difficult. This is both of them combined. Watch Quinyon just lock this down. Just boom, closes the gap, contacts at the catch point. Tremendous stuff. And then at the bottom of the screen, he's going to defend a curl route. You just eventually have to throw at him, and there's just nowhere to put that football. So Quinyon Mitchell, absolute stud. Honestly, the best cornerback film I've ever watched in a single game was from this Lions game. And if Quinyon can do that, you can certainly live with Adoree Jackson as your CB2 as you do different things to help him out. So that was really encouraging. Quinyon Mitchell's a stud, a very impactful player for the Eagles right now, and hopefully he's able to sustain that level because the Eagles are definitely taking advantage of it while he's on this heater. So now let's go to my second point. I want to talk about Nakobe Dean. I said that Nakobe Dean played the best game of his career on the post-game show. He had some really good reps. I might walk that back a little bit because he had a couple reps in coverage that weren't great, but overall still a really good game by Nakobe Dean. Here on a 1st and 10, the Giants are going to run play action, and he's going to get manipulated by that. So if you watch him, he starts at the 30-yard line, and he's going to come up field. And it's not that he comes up field 2 yards, right? It's look at how he hesitates, right? So we're looking at a receiver that's starting at the 25. And by the time Nakobe Dean gets back to where he started, that receiver has traveled 13 yards upfield and broken, and the ball's out. So you would like to read play action better, and it's not just him. Watch Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship really bites on this, and there's nobody there to help Adoree Jackson on the dig. Fortunately, the Eagles bat the ball down, but he definitely got manipulated by play action, and that's part of how he plays run defense is he shoots those gaps, he gets those run-throughs, and so you do have to trigger hard downhill. That's the downside to it sometimes. You can create some throwing windows over the middle of the field. But this is going to be a good rep. He's going to run a cross dog blitz, which means he and Zach Bond are crossing each other, and he's going to apply pressure to Jared Goff. And I think I have the back view of this one too. Throw has to come out early. Look where the running back is when Goff releases that. The running back is at the 22-yard line and is trying to break at like the 18. So he's throwing it like 4 yards before the break. It makes it a tremendously difficult throw. And it's all because of the pressure. But watch this. They cross each other. He just goes through the center, gets to Goff. It's a really good play because that route probably is open if Goff has the time to throw that. Then we're going to get to, this is another bad rep. So if you watch this play out, Quinyon Mitchell is going to get a press against this crosser, and there's a running back coming out to the flat. And so Quinyon Mitchell presses the crosser and then is going to let him go to rally to the flat. And Nakobe Dean just doesn't pick up this crosser. Nobody does. And so, I mean, there's nobody in the flat, which is what makes me say this has got to be Quinyon's responsibility. I mean, it's possible Nakobe should be there, but either way, that would make him wrong. But it looks like Quinyon's releasing this guy to Nakobe Dean. It could also be Andrew Makuba. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm not going to try to super break this down, but it looks to me like Nakobe Dean doesn't pick up the crosser here, and it results in a big play. And so there's some lapses in zone coverage. Where there aren't lapses, he had some really good plays in man coverage, and this is one of them. He's one-on-one with Jahmyr Gibbs, who's an incredible route runner, a lot of speed, and he carries him up the sideline. That was a really good play. This is another good one. He's going to pick up a crosser from Jamison Williams, who's very fast. He just sees, like, oh, he's coming. He's the only guy coming this way, and he picks it up and runs under it. I mean, this is a touchdown if Nakobe Dean's not there, right? There's nobody over there. And so he had some good plays, especially right there in sequence in the late fourth quarter. And then he's going to blitz on the next play, and he just kills the running back. Boom. Knocks him back into Goff, gets the sack. It's great stuff there. I show this one from the back view too. Just watch the way he rushes. He times this snap count up perfectly. Like, watch the offensive line when they move. He's already downhill full speed. Just right through the running back's chest. Boom. Takes Goff down. And so Nakobe Dean, I thought, I still think you want to be playing him. I do think that there's some instances that I would still take him off the field for Campbell in obvious passing situations, unless I want to blitz Nakobe Dean because he's very good at that. But in straight up coverage, I still prefer Campbell. But overall, Dean's earned his spot, and Campbell's not going to play a lot the rest of this year, barring injury. And it's because of how good Nakobe Dean is playing, not because of bad play from Jahad Campbell. And it's a great problem to have. I hate it for Campbell, but I was definitely wrong on they should keep playing Campbell. I would do some sort of a rotation and make him your pass coverage specialist, but Nakobe Dean played really well in this game with the exception of a few coverage lapses that I don't think Campbell would make. And I'd like to see Nakobe clean up. I'd like to see Campbell continue to get some reps, but Nakobe Dean's playing really well right now. And then I want to talk about the last thing on defense. I want to show a play that was just really good that the Lions ran. So I showed you on the play action when the Eagles do an insert play where they run Goddard through the B gap. Well, this is going to be the Lions running a receiver, which is a key difference, through the C gap. And so you can see, we'll see it better from the back view, but it's this guy right here. They're going to motion snap him through the C gap on a crossing route, and just look how wide open he gets. That's easy money. Now, this is how you use play action, right? Because you insert him through the line, and you see, first of all, Cooper DeJean collides with Zach Bond. Boom. We've created separation. You also see, I think this is like a cover one man look. And so I don't know if Reed Blankenship's supposed to be the hole defender, but he's so caught up on the play action. Like, I don't know if that's what's happening here. The Eagles rush 5, though. And so maybe it's straight up cover one blitz. but I don't know who Reed's responsible for. Anyways, I don't really know exactly what's going on this play, other than it creates traffic, which is what we're trying to do. But we're creating traffic for a cornerback that's right here that has to run through it all, whereas the Eagles try to do it to create traffic for a safety that can just easily get over the top of it. And so we'll show it from the back view again. Just watch at the right of the screen here. You can watch number 33, Cooper DeJean. You're going to snap this through the C gap. Boom, he's going to collide with Zach Bond, and it creates all the space in the world for an easy throw. So I point that out, one, as a counterpoint to what I showed about how the Eagles were running play action and how they could use that insert play. But I also show it to show something the Eagles could be a bit vulnerable to, that they might need to clean up, because the Lions do this, the Rams do this. The odds of you facing one of those teams again this season in the playoffs is pretty high, and so it's something that, A, you should clean up a little bit, and B, while you're at it, you could clean up the way the offense approaches it as well. So that's going to do it for this week's film show. Again, sorry that I had to do this one solo and that it wasn't live. Hopefully you guys still enjoy it. There's going to be, all kinds of content on the Eagles Pin Pull Network. There's all kinds of stuff in our Patreon. If you're not in the Patreon, I would really encourage you to check it out at patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. We have a $3, $5, and $7 a month tier. The $3 a month tier gets you access to our community Discord, where we chat all the time. Johnny, Eric, and I are all in there quite a bit. It also gets you access to Eric's game previews, which are written articles. And then the $5 a month tier adds on to that. It gets you my weekly All-22 pass game review. So I posted like a 40-minute video this week breaking down 20 pass plays. It's like what I do here, but it's more in depth. And so if you like this, that's a great companion to that. And then there's a $7 a month tier that adds on a Player of the Week spotlight, where Eric or I watches every single snap from a player you guys vote on and just talk about what we're seeing from them and kind of grade out their game. And it also adds Johnny's film preview of the upcoming opponent. So I think those things are all well worth you checking out. And we've got a free 1-week trial if you want to just join and check it out. Be a good time. You can catch this week's stuff and next week, because the game's on Friday, so we'll get an early start. You get Cowboys on Sunday and then Bears on Friday, so you could potentially get some extra episodes and things out of it. And of course, you get edited versions of this podcast with upgraded audio and things like that. So consider checking that out if you're so inclined. Otherwise, really appreciate your guys' support here on the public podcast feed on the YouTube. 5-star ratings and reviews really help. Always fun hanging out with you guys. Can't wait to do it again. Hopefully we're breaking down an Eagles dominant victory over the Dallas Cowboys next week. So I'll catch you then. Until then, go Birds.